After months of wild rumors, inconsistent design leaks, and rampant speculations, this is the final look at the iPhone 17 Pro, and it is shaping up to be one of the weirder design decisions Apple has ever made. However, we may be in for more than a few surprises than just the design of the phone itself, and Apple may finally be taking steps to make this iPhone not only look different, but finally work different as well. And keeping up with all of the iPhone rumors has been stressful this year, and with all the last minute leaks and last minute changes in details, I've had to make sure I was focused and thinking clearly and providing you with the most accurate information. But thankfully, I had a little help from Opera Air, a browser designed for helping you stay mindful while you work. And this browser is a breath of fresh air that focuses on a clean, minimalistic, and distraction-free design, letting me focus on browsing the web without any distractions by eliminating all the usual clutter from my web browser. And normally I get distracted so easily, so I love the built-in soundscapes feature, which has a selection of more than 20 lo-fi sounds and binaural beats, which has helped me stay focused on reading and researching. Try out the peak concentration soundscape because I got locked into such a deep focus that I didn't even notice that I already spent an hour researching the latest news for this video, and I only stopped when I got a notification from Opera reminding me to take my preset break. And when it was time to take a break, Opera Air was ready, reminding me to take a moment to reflect with some deep breathing to reduce stress, or meditation to relax and improve my focus for the next work session. I even found the full body and neck exercises super helpful, which honestly I need to do more of to help alleviate all the tension I get from spending hours at my desk. I even get a little inspiration from the quotes on the bottom of the start page. But hey, no stress. You can try it for yourself for free, because it is free, by clicking the link in the description below to get the Opera Air browser, a browser that actually cares about your mental well-being, which is so refreshing. So thank you to Opera for keeping me focused on what matters and for sponsoring this video. So let's tackle the biggest design change that seems to be all but confirmed at this point, the camera bar on the back of the device. I have to be honest, when I first saw this design, I wasn't really feeling it. And honestly, I thought there was no way Apple would change the design of the iPhone camera to this, when the cameras are in the same position as they are right now anyway. However, like with most big design changes, you do have to sit back with it for a while and kinda get used to it. And honestly, now that I'm looking at it, the more recent, refined mock-ups of the iPhone 17 Pro, I actually think the camera bar looks better than the old camera design. And I also believe this will help serve a functional purpose. Camera updates are by far the biggest new feature on the iPhone every year, and we've seen the iPhone camera go from a small pinhole without any camera bump to a massive 3-camera arrangement. It's no mistake that the iPhone camera has gotten more prominent with every single new iPhone design. Not only has it led to massive changes in smartphone photography, but literally has changed the media landscape to the point where this device has become integral to capturing moments as they happen. So I think the design of a camera bar is more intentional. It says the iPhone's camera has a bigger placement in our lives now, and it is front and center, or rather back and center, of the iPhone 17 Pro. And I think the camera bar looks a lot more intentional than the current design we have, because the cameras on this almost feel like an afterthought, kind of like Apple just glued them on at the last second. And this design actually serves a purpose, and that is that Apple needs more room internally for the 5x telephoto lens this year, because it's getting a bigger 48 megapixel sensor. And with the old camera design, the flash, the microphone, the LiDAR scanner probably couldn't fit in the same orientation as they are now. And I imagine during the design process, Apple had to move these sensors further away from the camera arrangement, where they probably looked a bit awkward, or maybe interfered with other component parts, like the front camera or the Face ID sensors on the front of the phone. So by moving them all the way to the right of the phone, that has freed up the space to allow for camera improvements. And I also think that means we can see more camera improvements coming in the future. Don't forget, Apple doesn't just design an iPhone every year. They are thinking 3 to 4 years ahead in terms of iPhone upgrades. So even though this camera bar has kind of like the same camera layout as it does now, it could mean that a more substantial addition to the sensor sizes or the physical cameras, or just something else coming down the line, could lead to an improvement where they might need more room. Basically, you got room for future designs to do bigger and better things with the camera, and Apple is planting their flag in the ground, or I guess the camera bar and saying, this camera is important. It is front and center of the iPhone design. I think I already said that, but it's good to say it again. Also, I think it'll like wobble less on the table, so that's a good thing overall. I think one of the biggest upgrades we can expect besides that increase in resolution to the telephoto lens this year is Apple also adding 8K video into the mix. I fully believe this is a feature they could have probably added on the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro because you can do 8K video with a 48 megapixel sensor. But I believe Apple chose not to implement 8K video onto these devices because not every lens had a 48 megapixel sensor. So if you went to record 8K video on, say, the 16 Pro, it would be limited to the main wide-angle camera and the ultra-wide-angle camera. And if you switch to the telephoto, then it would have to switch back to the standard 4K resolution. It's something that is very un-Apple-like. Apple doesn't really want you to think that hard about the cameras. It's why sometimes in low light, Apple will even choose the wide-angle lens if it's going to result in a better picture than the 5x lens, despite you choosing the 5x lens and zooming in. So yeah, now that all cameras are going to have the same 48 megapixel resolution, they can implement higher resolution 8K video. Now, going back to the design, another big change this year that I think doesn't really show up that well in all of these renders we see floating around is what is going to be a big visual shakeup and a return to form on the material design of the 17 Pro. That is because Apple is rumored to be getting rid of what used to be the stainless steel and now the titanium frame around the phone and replacing that with a unibody aluminum frame. That also goes to the back of the phone. A lot of the current renders and concepts show this off with a two-tone finish, but that might not be how it looks in reality, especially with that black camera bar. Renders with the black camera bar, I believe, are wrong, and the camera color should match the aluminum back like it does on the current iPhone models with the glass. So the effect isn't going to be as jarring and off-putting as you might have seen in older leaks. Apparently, there will be a glass window on the back of this phone still to allow for MagSafe and wireless charging, but a big portion of that is still going to be aluminum and not glass. This will also make the iPhone look visually different from the back, and it will also likely increase the durability of the phone. And it will add to even greater weight reduction than the titanium material, making these the lightest Pro Series iPhones that Apple has ever released. Although I am a little mixed here with this change. I think the aluminum infused back is a nice change, but I gotta be honest, I always liked the way that these titanium sides looked on the new 15 and 16 Pro, and I'm gonna be kinda sad to see them go. Now, there are other parts of the iPhone that are getting nice upgrades, that are big upgrades when you start to add them all together. First of all, you are getting a new A19 Pro chip with even more power, and I think very importantly, 12 gigabytes of memory. That's 4 gigabytes more than the 16 Pro. And listen, we have had Mac configurations not that long ago, just shipping with 8 gigabytes of memory. So to me, that is an insane jump. It should make the iPhone 17 Pro ultra smooth and responsive in a way we just haven't seen before on the iPhone. Performance could also be further improved with new vapor chamber cooling technology, which will better cool and enhance the performance of the iPhone chip and basically lead to less thermal throttling for better sustained performance. Finally, while I already talked about the performance improvements coming to the rear camera, I actually think one of the biggest areas that I will personally be looking forward to is the improvements with the front-facing camera this year, because it's rumored to receive a resolution jump as well from 12 megapixels to 24 megapixels. And I use the front-facing camera all the time, and honestly, I already think it looks really good. Like, record a video on a recent iPhone with the front-facing camera, and it's kind of insane how good it can look. So Apple further improving the front-facing camera, increasing the resolution to 24 megapixels, where just a few years ago, the rear iPhone camera was 12 megapixels. I mean, it's kind of hard to complain about all the upgrades we are getting to the 17 Pro model this year. And that one is going to be a big one. It's going to surprise a lot of people. I think this combination of hardware upgrades and the rumored redesign coming to iOS 19, which is supposed to be a major software design change that incorporates more depth, more glass elements, and visual changes that make the user interface elements appear more like they're popping up out of the display, is going to be a really nice change all around. I think as we get into WWDC this year and start to see those iOS 19 software changes, there's going to be a lot more hype by the time we get to September for the iPhone 17 release. And perhaps the best news is that while we thought the delay of Apple Intelligence features like the personal Siri and the more context-aware features were going to be dragged out until 2026, it appears that Apple may be faster than we initially thought on fixing them, with current reports saying that they are now planning to release these features just in time for the iPhone 17 release in September, which could create a perfect storm of hardware and software design as well as new features to make this one of the best iPhone releases we have seen in quite some time. But let me know, what do you think of these rumors of the new iPhone 17 Pro? Are you excited? And do you agree with me that these upgrades are turning out to be a bigger upgrade than we initially thought? Or do you think it will be like an iPhone 16 Pro year again, where when you look back, you kind of realize not much has changed? Anyway, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to give me a like. If you want to see more, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.